Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tattoos and Gurus. And do we have a guru for you today? This is my good friend Rob. He comes to us. He is a retired firefighter from the city of Riverside and County Riverside, and he has a lot of experience to share with us on fitness, nutrition, firefighting, and leadership. Rob, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
So start out by telling us where you were born and what it was like growing up for you.
Well, it all started when my dad legally immigrated here from London, England. And he went to the military, fought during the Korean War era, met my mom, and then I came about. But the whole thing was a toxic relationship. And so at a young age, I found that out at about the age of 10. And so I grew up in San Gabriel Valley section of LA County in the city of Arcadia. And that's where everything started.
All right. So you grew up in Arcadia out there in LA County. And at what point in your life did you enter into public service?
It started really young because everything started about the age of 10 when I had to kind of fend for myself with parents not being there. I love them with all my heart. They were just in that type of relationship.
Right.
So at 10 years old, if I needed anything, I had to go out. So I had paper routes, mowed lawns. I was very independent, had to figure out everything on my own. So luckily that's when mentorship happened. And I went out. My uncle was a fire chief eventually with Palm Springs. So he mentored me into that position. And I was in the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, whatever you want to call it. And the guy in charge, he'll like this, Neil Johnson ended up being police chief of Arcadia.
Okay.
And then he was there 30 years or more. And then he was police chief of Pomona Schools for like another 15. Then his son was a police chief for Monrovia, retired, and became a police officer for the National Parks to Travel. So I had a lot of between the police fire side. And so at a young age, I became a fire explorer. And then that turned into a paid call firefighter for Riverside County, which is no longer. And I learned a lot very quickly. Like I said, I was very independent, and I actually had those leadership skills because I had to do things on my own. So prior to graduating from high school in the fire department, I was going to go into the military. I took the ASVAB, scored high. I was ready to rock and roll, do some stuff, overseas. But I got hired in the fire department, and it was hard back then. It was a different time where for 3 jobs, you had 3,000 people, and there were some other factors in there, which I'll leave out. And I got hired. And so I worked for Riverside County Fire for 10 years. And then at that point, I got hired by a bunch of different fire departments, Riverside City first. And the reason I went over, not to put the other side down, but back then, they were so far behind in a way. When I went over to the city, I was working half as much for twice the pay. And it's like, I started as a firefighter, how much the chiefs were making at the county, but it's no longer like that. Things have advanced. So I worked for the city for 27 years. During that time, I got married, had one awesome daughter, and had a couple experiences in there. Which were the 2 big experiences. I went through a divorce and I died on the job.
You died on the job.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So toward the end, I was always like the super healthy, super fit. I used to be massive too.
Hey, you're a fit dude. So we've never met before.
Correct.
And you're here at my house and you knocked on the door, and you're a fit guy. So my props to you for staying in shape, but please tell us about this.
That was interesting. and that was kind of like a vaccine type of issue, so I won't go too deep.
Okay.
So always like the super healthy, super fit guy. People always looked up. I stayed in a firefighter rank. I loved it. I always drove the front and back of the ladder truck. I was on our FEMA rescue team when there's stuff going on. And so, because I always want, if you're going to be a leader, basic firefighting is basic. So you want to get outside of that box. So outside of that box is the ladder truck with rescues. It's a whole toolbox. So I wanted more. So anyways, I did that. Vaccine time came around. Everyone's getting sick but me. Like I said, I didn't even get COVID. Took the vaccine. 2 weeks later, and for a big person, I always had low blood pressure, 100/60, bam. 2 weeks later, went to stroke level. Out of nowhere, bam. Then I was kind of looking at stuff, and my heart started beating fast, AFib. Then I went to work. I was on simple fire. My whole life, everything's been, I'll be honest, easy. Went on a fire, my heart stopped. I went down face first in the dirt, woke up, I saw the other side. They said I woke up yelling because I was yelling for my daughter. That's who I saw on the other side, kind of like going away, the white light thing. And did the guy thing, I'm fine, I'm ready to work, let's go. That's how I've always been, No. So it took me in the ambulance. I was in crazy AFib in the hospital. Meds didn't work. Cardioverted me. Never had it again. Found out my ejection fraction, most people's are 50% to athlete level 70. Mine was always high. Mine was at 15. I should have been dead. And then after that, I got multiple blood clots throughout my body. I got multiple pulmonary embolisms in my lung. And I got deep vein thrombosis. And before that, I had a perfect heart. I always get checked out above and beyond. So live and learn. It's gone. I moved past that, and here I am. I'm happy to be alive.
You went through quite a rehab.
Yes.
Quite a rehab. What did that entail?
Well, the workers' comp system, which it's there. But I did everything on my own that worked. My everything was always dialed in, so I just dialed it in. Nutrition, more rest, because I was getting plenty of rest. And they put me in a day position, which actually, fire department. Long story, that was fun. So, then I went and did a bunch of like stem cells on my own. Went to another country, do stem cells, do all this stuff, and now everything's like gone. And then both the workers' comp doctor and my Kaiser physician said later on, this is like a year ago after the fact.
What does that mean later on?
Like I retired 3 years ago. So after I retired and everything's mellowing out, I guess they didn't want to speak during the vaccine phase. They both said the reason all this happened is because I took the vaccine. I was a healthy person who took the vaccine. I probably should have just left it alone. And they were positive, but they said back in the time they wish they would have spoke up, and they were.
Yeah, it was a challenging time back then.
Interesting, yeah.
You mentioned earlier about the power of mentorship that you had, and the role that being in the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Fire Scouts played with you. If you could speak to kids out there and who might be lost in the unknown of what they want to go into, what profession or what they want to do with their lives, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Find a mentor. Actually, since I retired, I've been mentoring a lot of people for police, fire, and military, a lot of things. And a lot of those kids just need someone to help them through to get to where they want to get. And so it's been pretty interesting. And a couple kids didn't tell me everything. So we had to change a few things after I found out, and they had to kind of go a different direction. But that everyone needs a mentor as early as possible to get them kind of lined up and going just the positive direction. And it's interesting, back in my day, growing up, I was born in 67. I'm 58 right now. Back then, it was interesting times compared to now. And I'm not putting things on a pedestal, but back then, most of our parents were military. Most of us had to go into the Boy or Girl Scouts. Most of us had to go to church on Sunday, whether we liked it or not. So you had all these things. And back then, even though my parents were how they were, like I said, I love them with all my heart, they worked with a teacher. And at that right there, growing up, I call it the triangle, the teacher, parent, kid triangle, the whole mentor. You got to work together and you got to have mentors and keep the person aligned.
Now, you retired and you went to work at YMCA.
Yeah, because that's a whole, I have a lot of different coins. So early on, I was like a fitness freak. I mean, since my back in the day, like, I don't know if you want to call it fitness. I was one of the skate punks in the 70s. Like there were two in the whole, the whole last generations, the last 100 years, there were only two movements, hippies and punks. I was one of the punks. So people made fun of me, but I put out my own skate magazine back in the day as a kid, made money off of that. I'd make flyers for gigs. I became a bouncer to get in. That's when I started working out. And actually, there was a garage gym back in the day in the 70s I started working out in. And then, this is kind of weird. I don't want to get into, I'll talk about it, I'm honest.
Okay.
So, I always had 3 jobs. Besides the fire department, I always worked jobs, mainly gyms. So my whole life, so I started in high school, before they were pharmacy techs, I was a pharmacy tech. And that pharmacy, this is kind of interesting, it has to go with fitness in a way. So I worked in this pharmacy where the #1 steroid doctor, because steroids used to be legal, used to put all his prescriptions through. So I learned all that. So I knew the side about being natural as a kid, which I was, and steroids. And then going on, I started working out in gyms and bouncing. So and I've been training people for 40 years. And so when I retired, I got a job at the YMCA, just a gym rat. 4:30 a.m., I open the gym up, get all set up, and but through all these years, I did bodybuilding, powerlifting, trail races back in the day. I learned a lot.
And with the why, because I get a sense that you have such a strong purpose to help others and to guide and lead and mentor, and was retiring and going into the Y an extension of that servitude to serve others, and you encounter kids where you get to be that positive role model impact for them?
Yeah, originally, in the beginning, no, I just wanted to be in a gym.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden I saw this and how they are the principles, Christian values, but I won't talk about that. And so the whole thing, and then I saw where when I started, I had the afternoon position. That's when all the high schoolers get there. And then I saw, man, I could help all these kids out. And it's like crazy, all these kids coming to me. And I didn't think about it. Now I've been writing out their workouts. And this one kid he's going into the Marines this year. So I kind of hooked him up. I'm all, hey, are you running? Are you doing your push-ups? Basics. So all these kids I could help in different ways. And then even adults, there's this one guy in a different way. He's been one of the interesting professors at this big university in town. I've been helping him with stuff. He's kind of trying to figure out retirement. He's been a professor for 50 years. But yeah, all the way from the kids up. And it's just, without thinking about it, just, because I always had good ethics.
That's so good. It's the power of having positive influence in your life growing up can really make such a difference to most people. And you got into retirement. Tell us about that. If you're speaking to people out there who are close to retirement, late 40s, maybe just into their early 50s, and they're getting ready to go, what kind of advice do you have for them financially, medically, anything that you experience yourself?
I look at it in an interesting way, and all the retired I've talked to now like that. I'm all, life is short. Health is wealth. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. So you better get your health together as you're coming up to retirement. Make sure, and I'm talking not just physical health. We're talking mentally and physically. And I said, if you want to retire, that's great. But to me, retirement is death. And when you die, you go on to a certain place. So it's like, I want to keep on going. And the reason I say that, all the people older than me who are in the retirement phase, who are doing superior, don't slow down. And like there's this one guy, he's in his 80s. He's at the Y, and he's been a stockbroker his whole life. And still, if you want to say retirement, at the same age as he retired in his 50s, but he didn't change. He's still a stockbroker. He's still at his computer screen until 1 o'clock in the afternoon from when the stock market opens at 5. And then he comes to where I'm at, the YMCA, works out 2 hours. And then he's not done. He just goes outside at his house until it's dark, does gardening. And he travels the world. And the whole thing, I started my daughter, I look at it like this. Look at a square. You're in that square. Hopefully you're in that square with God, your family, whatever. But a square has 4 equal sides. So for retirement, and not just in retirement, in your whole life, you work on all 4 sides. Mental, physical, spiritual. I'm not saying religion, just spiritual. If you want to get a religion, fine. And financial. And that's what the financial side I've seen. It's the biggest part where people have issues is the physical side, they're not in shape, and the financial side, they're not in shape. And it's not that hard. And what brings a lot of people down is divorce. I went through divorce, but when I went through that was one of my 2 issues. I don't worry about money. So I'm all, here, have everything. I walked away. And then in a decade, I became very wealthy again. And I've never had a 401 that was maxed out. I've been retired 3 years, haven't touched that. And I haven't touched a retirement check in 3 years. So that's what I'm saying. About 5 years before you're getting ready for that retirement date, you get your health together, get your wealth together, and enjoy life. Because it's too short. It goes by, as we've talked about, our careers go by like that. And then all of a sudden we look back, we're all, what?
Yeah. Time flies for sure. And before you know it, you've already got over 20 years, and you wonder where the time went. So you used to be tattooed pretty heavily.
True.
But you don't have any tattoos anymore.
No. I like tattoos.
What happened to your tattoos?
Another one of many stories. So when I was into the punk rock phase, back then, not many people had tattoos back in those days. And so if you're a punk rocker, like in the LA area, there's only 2 tattoos you'd go to, Bob Roberts, who just passed away, or Mark Mahoney. So I went to Mark Mahoney. And this was my family arm. I had my last name, no color, last name all the way down to here, Herrick. I had praying hands here. Then on my back, I had a girl, partially, nude. And I had all kinds of, So I had about half a sleeve, and it was hanging out. I was like the first guy on the job. So it was hanging out, which then later on, you have to be covered up.
Yeah.
But I got away with it because I already had it. So anyways, I had half a sleeve, about a quarter back. So what happened, when I got hired in the city, there was no harassment policy. No big deal. And then there's I'd only been on the job a few months. And so an interesting individual that hadn't worked on the floor in a while worked with me. And that day, my whole crew wasn't there. And so he harassed me horribly. And see, I was strong my whole life, like I said, mentally and physically. And I could do the job, no problem. So he did. We don't need to get into it because it was actually funny. So it was all done. But what I didn't know, the rest of the crew, no one really liked this person, captain. So they told the captain coming on shift about this person. And so he had to deal with this. So it went all the way up. So my next shift coming in, I'm on probation. All these people are driving in from the city. They're all, what's going on? Chiefs, HR people, they're all, something happened to you the other day. I'm all, oh, okay. I didn't look at it as harassment. So they want to know, Rob, this happened. I'm all, well, do you really want to know what happened? Because I was also a writer. Like I had a magazine I put out when I was younger. So I'm all, well, I journal every day. Do you want me to get my journal out and read to you what happened? I'm all, this is mine for a book someday. So I got my journal out. It was so detailed out. All these years at the fire, I even had who lost cards at the dinner table. Guys couldn't believe it. It's like, who did that? So it was kind of funny. So I read it, and they're all, no way. HR, they're all, that couldn't have happened. And the other guy, yeah, it did. They're all, what do you want to do about it? And so I'm all, you tell me. So that person, I guess, I didn't know this until later. He got days off without pay. And then he told all his buddies about it to don't let this guy pass probation. And it wasn't me who brought it up. I didn't really care. And so then the city of Riverside came out with their official harassment policy for the whole city, not just fire. And then that guy, part of his, if you want to call punishment, he had to help teach a harassment class with HR. So he'd end up just retiring out because he didn't want to do that. So that was all because of my tattoos. Like I didn't get deep in it. So I said, that didn't bother me. But what was going on as society changes, when I had them, no one had them. You had to be a certain type of person. Not many people had tattoos.
Yeah.
No police, no fire, nothing. So I said, I also owned a business, a laser skincare center back in the day too. So we knew a lot of top physicians. And when this one physician said, hey, I heard through your wife that you want to maybe get your tattoos off. Just because, so why I wanted them off is I had them when no one had them. I wanted to be different again, like during my punk rock years. So he's all, yeah, I'll take them off. And for how much I had, that was like 70, 80 grand back then, a lot.
Yeah.
So I said, sure, I'll do it so he said, I'll do it for free if you average. So I did it. I went on a TV show, which was popular back then, Good Day LA with Jillian.
Yep, I remember.
I was on that show and they did my tattoo remove on TV.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, that was in 2001 was my last one. They did on the show. I'd show up early. And so I was on the Good Day LA, and what's funny at that time, this is just me. I had a certain chief who didn't like us wearing cold weather beanies. So on a TV show, I wore my cold weather RFD beanie as I'm getting my tattoos taken off on a major television show. So now they're all gone. And you can't even, this whole area here, that was as dark as could be.
Any plans to get any more tattoos?
I thought about one on my neck, but I'll hold off.
All right. So we're talking about, you got into leadership.
Yes.
Supervisors, and there's different leaders at every rank, and rank doesn't make you a leader. What is your philosophy on leadership, and what did you experience and see in the fire department?
Leader, that's a basic thing. It may sound easy, but I mean, it's hard if you're there. But if you're a leader, you don't really think about to a point. You might work on it on your time off to revamp things. A leader leads. A leader listens. The best leaders to lead, they listen to the ranks. And to be a good leader and you're listening to your ranks, example, there's a project coming up. And you don't just try and do everything yourself. You take the best leaders from those below. So say I'm in a fire department, say the main chief is doing a project on hiring. How are we going to get the best candidates we're going to hire? Well, let's get the best leaders of certain ranks, a firefighter, a paramedic, and then we'll have a engineering captain help in different ways. And then say, okay, here's what I want to do, the main leader. Let them put it out between themselves, and then you have certain dates, but where things fall through the ranks and people don't get happy is micromanaging. So you have these people, these so-called leaders, trying to lead by, but they're micromanaging. It just doesn't work well. Like I said, there's leaders of every rank, and what happened to me, I could have promoted up. I have a massive resume, but I enjoy being a firefighter. And so I'm all, if I'm going to be a good firefighter, and I never thought about it like, back then, but I'm going to take all the classes, keep fit mentally, physically. I used to do all kinds of like volunteerism. I was on the recruitment committee, physical fitness committee. I was one of the few guys that got paid for that. That's kind of interesting. Physical fitness committee. I was on the historical committee. When chiefs need to do things, like I was in the ladder truck most of my career, which I loved. So when we got new ladder trucks, guys on the floor wouldn't even know this. A chief would call me because I got along and did my job. He's all, "Hey Rob, can you we have these new ladder trucks and we have these eyelets on them. I want to know what we could tow, what we could do." And so I'm, got it. Give me a date. So he gave me a project as a leader. I went and figured things out, and I called him back. I'm all, "Is this what you wanted?" La la. Dude, I gave him pictures, all the stuff, and done. So he didn't get in. He just gave me an assignment. I did the assignment for him. No questions asked because I enjoyed it. He didn't micromanage and get in between, and the job got done. Simple.
Who was an exceptional leader that you worked for? And if you can give us an example of some type of problem that he or she faced and how they worked through that with their leadership.
Well, there's one, oh man, there's some good ones. Chief Pence, he's retired now. He lives down, great guy, man. I had fun at work. So what happened one time, I was on an engine company and I wasn't too happy there because leadership wasn't great. And there was a lot of friction there, and I wasn't being able to do my own leadership. And so he called me. He's all, "Hey, you're not supposed to do it this way." He's all, "Do you want to be on the ladder truck? There's an opening." So to help me out and to help the whole situation without having to go through what we have to do, he just pulled me because he could. Because he knew I was a good worker. He was a good chief. He didn't have to go through loops. Done. It worked out for both sides, and he loved it. But what was such good about leading, this guy, he had it mentally and physically, but he was there too. I'm God, family, country. Okay? I didn't say this earlier, but first thing in the morning, I meditate and have my own devotional. And Chief Pence didn't even ask me. He came to me one day. "Here's a book." It was a religious book. "I think this will help you." Didn't even ask. And I'm all, oh. And that's being a leader. He'd do things like that without, like out of nowhere, not even asking. He'd just do it. But how he did it worked. So he'd get the job done.
So he knew his people.
Oh, yeah, I knew him. Yeah, he knew me too. I had too much fun.
How important is trust on a team? And there's different kinds of trust, but when you're working on a specialized team, you're a first responder, lives are on the line. You have the people that we serve, their lives are on the line. You have you and your team, your lives are on the line. How important is trust and cohesiveness on a special team?
That's number one. The trust is there. You can't even think about it because if it's not there, that's not good, man. It's like, and you have to work together and like everything. Like when I was on the FEMA rescue team, I was a rescue specialist and they had to trust me in that position. If I'm given an assignment, man, I'm laying out that rope and we're rescuing someone, that trust is on me because if that rope's not set up right and I don't do my safety, that life's gone. So there's a life on the line. So that's why the trust is there no matter, I'm just saying, as a safety person, I'm rescuing this person or maybe a couple people. That whole thing's on me. I better do my double safety check and that better be in line or else we're going to have some issues here.
I want to go back to your younger days when you started a skateboarder magazine. and it seems like you had some entrepreneurship in your blood. Where did that come from, and how did you get started with this magazine?
Well, in a way, that's why I was saying there were two movements in the last century, the hippies and the punks. It was kind of interesting. Like, so I was a punk, skate punk, and we had to do, it was like a, what you call do it yourself, DIY movements, which really isn't, it was there during the hippies of the 60s and punks of the 70s. And it hasn't been there kind of since or kind of before in a way. So the magazines were kind of going down, but not like now. So we make our own magazines before, this is before AI, before computers. So I had to take all my photos. I actually took a typing class, thank God. So I took a typing, I had to type everything up. I'd do the interviews, and then I'd lay everything, I just figured out how to lay everything out. And then I'd go to Kinko's and print them up and do like 100 copies and sell them. And then I'd do advertising. I'd have to go different advertising. I did 5 issues. And my last one in the 80s, they call them zines. I made 10 grand just from selling ads.
As a teenager?
Yeah, for only 100 issues. And then what happened, I'd actually just kind of give them, I wouldn't even sell them because I'd make the money from the ads. And then it's pretty deep back then because skateboarding in the 70s was this massive, it was massive. There were skate parks everywhere. And so I got deep into it. And then all these people, I was actually, because you have all these zines, pen pals with like 100 people. So you'd write to people all across the world. You know, I'd be happy when a mail courier got here. Then we'd send things back and forth and people would end up staying up. One time I had 9 people, skateboarders, professionals, staying at my house at one time from Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was deep. I just figured this all out, and my dad was kind of a writer too. So I kind of learned how to write, and then I just did it, and then I learned, and then at the same time as a skateboarding and punk rock, I actually made a fake magazine pass. It was actually real. I had my zine, so I made it up so I'd get in a concerts for free. So back then, I'd go see like for $3, and I probably didn't have the money back then. Sometimes I did, but you'd see like it was Devo, the Go-Go's, and Black Flag for $3. So I get in, and then they started using me as a bouncer. So you'd learn all this stuff. The hippies did stuff like that, and then the punks, like we were one of the first ones who had Doc Martens. Now it's a diamond. Everyone has Doc Martens. Back then, we were the only ones. See, so I'm getting made fun of. I'm not letting that affect me to a point, but now it's just normalized in our society. So it's pretty, I got a lot. And 2 of those guys from England who were at my house, they were living on my couch, eating all my parents' food. Now they're multimillionaires. Each of them have had like 3 skateboard companies. One lives in Los Gatos in a house worth, they're multimillionaires, but that's how we started out. That's how you start. You just do it like this.
You just do it, and you don't know what you're doing, but you got to jump in. You got to start.
There you go.
You gotta be willing to take risk. How important is risk taking to you? Calculated risk, of course.
Yeah. It's you just got to do it, man. Go for it. Life's short. You got to take the risk. And I don't look back. Here's how a lot of these kids, I'm not putting kids down, but how a lot of the society now, what happens, I know this from going on calls with all these kids, right? My last few years. So it's like, I'm seeing all these kids have anxiety. The only reason you have anxiety is you're thinking about future that's not here. And then the other kids are depressed. The only reason they're depressed is because they're thinking about the past. So stay in the present like you and I right now. The past is done. Learn from the future's not here. Calculate, do the risk. Life's short. Do it.
That is so good. and that affects and negatively impacts so many people because it's so easy to dwell on the past and you can't go back.
Nope.
You can't go back. There's no time machine. What is done is done.
Correct.
And we can't go forward. And so often we as people are worried about things that haven't even happened yet and may never even happen.
There you go.
And so when you meditate every morning, how does the meditation help keep you in the present and bring you in?
I started that, like I'm saying, everything started at 10. So My bed's low to the ground. I get up at 2 a.m. I've always got up at 5 a.m. when I was 10 years old, normal. So I roll over and I get up. I end up drinking 32 ounces of water, which I already have set out. And then I read a little devotional. Today it was like Psalm 69. And read my devotional thing, drink my water. And then I do these little stretches and do yoga poses and just keep my eyes closed. And it's quiet time, man. It's quiet, just me, God, and whoever I want right there. It's just, and I love it. And then I just, get everything going, make some coffee. I barely even drink my coffee. It's like, this coffee thing, I only drink a few sips. But yeah, I have my water, have God, have the quiet time. And that's one of the things I try. And if you want to call mentoring these kids, I try and say, hey, the first thing in the morning, if you want to become a police officer, a fireman, or military, before that next shift, you better have your head straight. Bam. Because you don't know what's going to happen that day. So start every morning, start fresh. You meditate. Hopefully you believe God. If you don't, I'm not putting or saying, I do. And you get your head straight. And like I said, mainly I mentor firefighters, but there's a couple, like a policeman. I'll tell you this quick one.
Yeah.
So there's a local kid. I'll leave the name quiet. He's now in our local police force, but he was at a local coffee shop. Great kid. He was going to do fish and game, but the local officer would always go in there, get there. Dude, become a policeman. So he thought about it. He said, okay, I'll try it. He got hired. Great kid. I knew it, but he wasn't listening to me he was a heavyset kid. Like I told you earlier, running and push-ups, be able to do endless and don't tell anyone. Because when it's time, you just do it.
Yep.
He didn't listen. He got hired locally. I think he was a month into it because of his body weight. Didn't listen. Rolled his ankle. Yeah, he was actually in your guys' academy. So, not with you guys though. He's on a different department. So he was a good kid, like I said. He just didn't. I laid it out, and so they liked him. So later on, he told me this. He's all, what you told me. I got back into my head. You're right. So he did his push-ups, got the weight off before the next academy. And now he just passed probation. And because there's so many openings, he has a day shift he loves. And then he's staying at home with his parents now, saving his money, working tons of hours. He's loving it. But that one little small thing, I lay it out like another thing. I say, if you're going to be a police officer, you better have to a point your martial art training down. I'm all, your boxing and grappling. Because when it's time, I even tell firefighters this, we used to take a class PC 832, basic.
Yep.
They don't have it anymore. But I tell these new kids, take it. And I even tell them, we're firefighters. We walk into that house, we don't go know what's going on. It's supposed to be a basic medical aid. And one of the guys used to laugh at me, but they don't anymore after the minute you walk in, situational awareness. The minute you walk through that door in a 2-story house, you better be looking up. Before you walk in, you look up. I'm not a police officer, but things with what you guys do and we do, situational awareness in every situation.
Yeah, I've worked with some very good firefighters and utmost respect for them. When I was on patrol in the Morongo Basin Station up there, 29 Palms, Yucca Valley, there'd be times where I'd be by myself, back would be far away, but fire guys were there and I knew they had my back. And I always really appreciated that. The importance of public service and serving others, your devotion to that's really fueled where you are now into your mentorship with younger people at the Y. And what kind of challenges are you facing with kids how do you identify a kid that needs some mentorship, some positive influence in their life?
The biggest thing, like right now, is listening to someone. That's the biggest thing. So I have plenty of time. These kids are in a hurry, so I'll just listen to them. And then after listening to them, I'll kind of pick it apart a little bit without being negative at all. Because once you're negative, it kind of turns the kid.
Yeah.
So you're positive, but when you find out there's a kid recently in great shape, has a couple degrees. He wanted to be a firefighter. But later on, as he's getting in, I laid it out. I could tell these kids, you have to do a complete physical, because all of a sudden you get hired, you find out you have a heart murmur, you've wasted 3 years. It's a waste of time. Life's short. So I laid out not just medical, is background checks. So this kid didn't tell me a couple things. And one of them, he had some drug use of a certain type. Well, we have medics now. We have drugs. We have ketamine. We have fentanyl, pain relief. We used to have morphine. I'm all, and that along with something else, I found a medical thing he didn't tell me. I'm all, you can't be a firefighter anymore. You didn't tell me everything. So I'm all, is there anything else we're missing out? Oh, no, I'm all, it's not my life, it's yours. You're wasting your time. In a way, you might be wasting a little of my time, but I know now how far I'm going to take you, because I'm not going to put my name on the line now to a certain point. So we found a different direction where this person could do something close to being a fireman. But it's like, that's why I listen.
Yeah.
And hopefully they tell me everything and we work with them. Because my job isn't to pound them down. I never want to pound anyone down. I felt like it when I was on probation, but that's a whole different, and that's why I was thankful. It's funny, Riverside County, where I started out for 10 years, no one was into working out. And the guys would laugh at me because I bring 400 pounds of weights to all my stations in the back of my truck. But then Riverside City, I got hired by like 6 places, within like 6 months. Riverside was the first, that's why I stayed. But the reason I stayed there, I found out we had the toughest probation in the United States. Tougher than any department. It was kind of too tough, not for me, but looking back on that, the amount of people, we did a little study of Captain that failed us, and then now in surrounding agencies are captains and chiefs, but they couldn't make it with us.
So how important are high standards?
It's important.
And what does that mean, having high standards?
High standards is great because you will get great employees, but what people don't think about is a great employee for extended time, 30 years. So what happens, you lower your standards. This person might be good for 5 or 10 years, then they're gone. But you have high standards, and we had a chief in my last years, who I'll leave at that. And like I said, we had the toughest probation. And once you failed one thing on one of your 2 physicals in your year, that's fine. Once you fail a second thing, you're gone. Well, he changed that quietly. And then actually they put it on paper, I think. But so all of a sudden, my last couple of years, we have 35 people who they gave a second, third, and fourth chance. Whereas if it was me or one of my buddies when we got hired, they'd be gone. So now I started seeing that these people got, and some of them right away, the standards were lowered. And so these people you had to have the flag up, coffee made. That's not written in the books. There's some guys who right away, of those 35 people, I'm not putting the flag up. I'm not making coffee. That's not part of me. It doesn't say that. And that's why those standards should be enforced. I get between police, fire, and even military, it's harder now to find people. Things are tough because of certain things. So I kind of get that side of it, and it's tough. So we kind of need to work with it.
Yeah. If you could go back, if you could write a letter to your younger self, I'm talking about as a child, what would that letter say if you were to tell yourself what to expect in the future?
Life is short, health is wealth, and follow through completely with one task at a time until you finish that task. Then you could add your second, third, and at that point, go ahead and multitask.
And what do you mean by multitask?
Like, I could do it. Like, right now I'm doing some things. I'm finishing a book I started a long time ago while I'm training clients, and I still go out and do a few other things in like the punks. I do some interesting things, but I'm able to do 3 things. but I'm able to follow through and finish.
That's big, following through.
That's what I'm saying. Life is short. Health is wealth. Start, but you better be able to finish, because if you don't finish, you haven't done anything.
Yeah. Great ideas are great, but they don't mean anything if you don't execute.
Correct. That's it. Execution.
Earlier on, we talked about the health issues that you faced when you died on the job, and I'm glad you came back. There's a lot of people out there that either themselves are battling health issues, cardiopulmonary, lungs, blood clots, or they have loved ones in their family, in their home they're taking care of, or they have friends that are going through these issues. What kind of advice can you give them to help get through the health crisis and really do what to get back on their feet, to overcome this?
You got to have it mentally there to be able to do it. But as far as health, I tell people it's three things. It's not medication. Medications can help in the short term. But health is three things I tell people when I'm training them: nutrition, body movement, however you do it, weights, cardio, combination, and sleep. So by dialing your nutrition in, like I tell people, they don't get, body movement breaks down your body. So by breaking down your body, it's a good thing. You build it back up with a proper nutrition and enough sleep. Get it there. And then in an interim, you might need a med or two or surgery. Like if you break your foot, go get the surgery done. You might have to use a pain med maybe for a day or two or a week. Leave it at that. And then move on. Like I tell people, if they get injured, okay, you go ahead, you break your ankle. You could still do the air bike. You could still work up here, because what people don't get, they're all, oh, rest. Well, is the doctor talking rest 24/7? I don't think so. Get your 9 hours, maybe, at the top end, 9 or 10 hours, or a nap, and get to the gym. I mean, if you can, you could do it at your house. Do the air bike for your upper body, because that gets the good blood in and the junk out. And that keeps your system going and building, Yeah. So you got to have it mentally, and you build a plan and you stick to it, and health, man, nutrition, body movement, sleep. That's it. Like I did bodybuilding. That was another learning thing. It's like one time I did 3 shows in 2 weeks. It was just, I was mad for 2 decades at 6'2". I weighed 265 pounds at 9%.
Wow, that is tough.
Correct. And so I'd go in, I'd do a show about 220 pounds. Like the one time I did 3 shows, it was a learning thing. I loved it. That's how nutrition, it comes back to basic bodybuilding. All the different 100 diets, keto, whatever. When it comes down, it's bodybuilding. That's how I learned. That's the only reason I did bodybuilding, to learn how nutrition works. So I did Border States one Saturday. The week later, I did the Mr. Venice Beach. And then, because these were big shows back then. And then the third week they started a new heavyweight division. I did Mr. Los Angeles. In fact, it was fun because there was this one police officer, Phil Naglia. He was with the city of Riverside. He's on SWAT and everything. Dude, that guy could have been pro, no joke. He did a show. One week he did a bodybuilding show, the one with me and Mr. LA. The next week he did a powerlifting show. Yeah. And he did good on both. I went to the Police Fire Olympics to watch it. He actually had a 2 to 3 page, I still have it, article on muscle fitness on him. So it's like, so learning, how basic, carbohydrate, like nutrition, it's just 3 things. Protein builds muscle, carbohydrates and fats, all they're there for is for energy in 2 different ways, energy pathways. And I even learned this at the Fire Academy. So a calorie I learned at the Fire Academy. It's a unit of energy, but it has to do with nutrition, burning, So it's like, it gets down to, it's pretty like a calorie. What calories do, by cutting your calories, you lose weight. But by your macros, you change your body composition. So that's why I tell people, calories, you drop the weight. Adjust your macros properly, and you adjust your body composition. The more muscle you have, the less fat, because you're burning.
Yeah.
Thermodynamics, calories. Anyways.
No, that is so good. Hey, folks, there you have it. Another great Tattoos and Gurus podcast with the true guru, Rob. Thank you so much for being here. And if you got value from this podcast, please like, share, subscribe this episode. We appreciate you. We'll see you on the next one.
All right.
Hey, everyone. I'm Goldie, your host of the Tattoos and Gurus podcast, and we are looking for gurus to come on the show. So if you've got lessons learned and motivational stories that you want to share with our audience, hit me up on Instagram at Tattoos and Gurus, and I'll talk to you soon.